I thought we were home and hosed, and credit to Galway, they came back into it and thundered into it. Joe Canning really led the way there, you know, but
Canning! Oh, it's a goal! 27 goals for Joe Canning, and this one is worth its weight in gold.
Just the last couple of minutes, the last 8 or 9 minutes was just the worst ever, like from 70 on. I thought it'd never end, and they were coming and they nearly caught us, you know.
Between his own 45 and 65, it's going to drop short, but where will it fall? It's in a Limerick hand. It's taken clear. It's all over. Limerick have done it. Limerick have won it, and they get the fairy tale finish after 45 years.
Such a fool for you. You got me wrapped around your finger.
Yeah, pretty magic stuff, Limerick fans, and things are wild in Limerick at the moment. I was just watching the 6-1 news there about an hour ago. Keelan Shanley and Marty Morrissey were on the stage, and a firework nearly killed Keelan Shanley. I'm happy to report she's okay, and behind them the Gaelic grounds was going absolutely berserk, and they showed the team getting back to the train station and it all kicking off there. I can just imagine at least a good week of Limerick not being normal, at least.
I think you're underestimating in there. I think it'll be a good winter and spring if it not be normal. If it was ever normal, Limerick, to be honest. But I was obviously it was the game yesterday with work, but I was out at City West this morning as well, just doing follow-up interviews. And to me, it was a real throwback to what it was like when I started out in journalism in the 90s or whatever, when you had great breakthrough All-Irelands. And I know Galway had one last year that was significant, but they weren't quite as open as Galway, and that kind of reflects Micheál Donoghue's demeanour and personality, like he's kind of Jim Gavin-like in a way. But this was they were just it's a lot of what we're talking about is kind of embargoes. There'll be newspapers tomorrow, but right. It's really interesting, and a lot of it's very funny, and just how much enjoyment and fun they knocked out of the year. Like they talk about this, and it's when you hear all this rubbish all the time about sacrifices and there's a grind and that somebody's put a gun to their people's head to play GA. That it's just refreshing to hear this. And the other thing that struck me out there is they're kids. Like the average age is 22, 23.
No, you're getting old. You're getting old, my friend. It's like, I presume you're saying the same thing about guards at this stage. Look how young that man is.
But bar Declan Hannon, Graham Mulcahy, Nicky Quaid, there's a few of them that...
Seamus Hickey.
A few of them have been around, but other than that, they're really young. And this keeps being brought up, the helmets thing as well. You don't recognise a lot of them. You recognise Kyle Hayes, Cian Lynch, Shane Down, a few others that have just become familiar, but... A few of the others, I'm not really sure who that is, but I wonder will he talk to me anyway.
And so what was the atmosphere like? You get to the City West, are they all in the lobby or are they in a room?
You go in, it depends how early you get there. Like, journalists normally in All-Ireland, the morning after an All-Ireland final, they go there from about 8, half 8 to say 10, they arrive in. And it can be quiet enough 8, half 8, because people, I would say, haven't gone to bed, or only just gone to bed.
Yeah.
But then people start coming downstairs to breakfast, or the Cure or whatever. And but these days, quite a few players don't drink these days.
Sure,
so the fair few are fairly fresh. But there was a brilliant atmosphere around it, because I did a piece with Andy Lee for Saturday. I was trying to think of just something different to do, and it was just basically on Limerick identity and the notion of Limerickness, and because I think it's a very distinctive county. If you look at the sports people from there, and generally prominent people from there, they're very they kind of stand out, I think. And Andy's point is it's very much a blue collar place, and there's no airs and graces. And you find that they really are, a down to earth bunch.
Yeah.
There's no look at me, look what I've done, or it's just they're ordinary fellas. Like I remember. I actually still sticks with me. Vincent Hogan did a colour piece after Donegal when they were first All-Ireland in '92. And he interviewed James McHugh, and James McHugh said to him, things like this don't happen to ordinary bucks like us. Huh. And that struck me about Limerick. Like, these are ordinary bucks who've done something extraordinary, because this is a team that didn't win a championship game last year. This year, they've won. You can make the case for the hardest All-Ireland championship ever to win. They've beaten the traditional big three, Cork, Tipperary, Kilkenny, and both of last year's All-Ireland finalists to win it in within this new format. And if you remember, even within the round-robin format in Munster, they came third, and they came from there to win the All-Ireland. And they won at a canter, even though it was 1 point, which is bizarre. Like, they should have won by 10 points.
Won at a canter up until the last 5 minutes, and then it was suddenly potentially the most unbelievable All-Ireland finish since '94. I mean, we were sitting here, me and Richie were here back at base, and we're just sitting here and I mean, 8 minutes. There's 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're kind of saying, God, I mean, this will be tough for them, but they should be okay.
Yeah.
And then you're a Joe Canning free away.
Yeah, but it's amazing that it's actually when you see the worth of the big screen. Because when Joe Canning squared up to take that free, I was looking down and like because you're quite high up with the press box up in the upper Hogue and you don't get a good view. But they had a big close up of him on the big screen,
right?
And he just kept taking these deep breaths and he was taking his time. And what's going through your head is, you know, we could put this over. And that's a draw. And God, how will Limerick cope with a draw and a replay? And the other thing that goes through your head then suddenly is, somebody could flick it to the net and Limerick are beaten. Like Limerick could actually lost the game, you know, which would be an utter travesty, you know. Yeah. It's just, but that's the way, you know, it's Anthony Daly's line of Tony or whoever said it to him, hurling 1,000 mad things, somebody comes out on top. Yeah. And like, how many times have you seen a 9-point lead this summer being whittled away? I actually meant to go through this today, and I think it's, from memory, it's 5 or 6 times.
9 points. 9 points is the new 2-0, Kieran. Yeah, we've learned this season. Lads, I haven't been part of such a big crowd outside of an actual game since Fela back in the day. Kieran's right, we'll celebrate until this time next year, says Sean in Limerick. By no means a classic, Joe, you're right, but this is a win for the ages. You don't win anything with kids apart from Premier League titles and Liam McCarthy, says Tom.
Yeah, but the other thing, I was thinking about this, Joe. I think their average age is 23. Go back to Clare, I think the Clare were around 23 in 2013 as well. And there's something to be said for that because young players have no fear too often because where nerves kick in and when fear on the big day kicks in, it's when you've been through bad days and you've got a bit of baggage going in there. So, like, when you put no baggage and you just think, I
know, I hear you. I just think we're so outcome-based, you know, because...
Oh, of course, yeah.
I mean, if they had lost that, we say, well, look, then... And they could easily have lost and they could easily not played so well. We say, well, look, the cliche is you almost need to lose one to win one, and then, you know, we would literally be here saying it just proves again...
But you need the balance. Like, you still look at the... You know, you had the spine. If you go down your spine, you had Nicky Quaid, who's been around a long time. You know, the Mike Casey, Declan Hannon... Kyle Hayes, you know, Graham Mulcahy in the corner. Like, you had that very experienced core there as well. You know, you do need the mix. But there's a lot to be said. Like Kyle Hayes, I can't say it because it'll be in the papers tomorrow, but
go on.
John Kiley said, no, I'll get killed. John Kiley said stuff
in
about
tomorrow's Irish Daily Star.
Just basically, no, there's in all the papers, but he said stuff about how he deals with Kyle Hayes, and basically Kyle Hayes wants to... Basically, it's leave me alone. Yeah. Just, I don't want to hear from you. I'll do my thing. Just leave me alone. So it's along those lines. It's interesting, though, because that's like, he's a young guy. He's 20 years old. And I didn't actually watch the Sunday game last night. Did he get man of the match?
Yeah.
He got man of the match. You know, like it's...
Interestingly, when, you know, he scored those glut of points in the second half, was it 3 in fairly quick succession?
Yeah.
That was Limerick's last point in the entire game.
I know, yeah.
And they got 2 more scores, which thankfully were goals. But when Hayes had popped over his 3rd point, I think, in that very quick 4 or 5 minutes, I mean, if you said to Limerick people then, you're not going to score another point in this game, wouldn't have sounded so good.
But it's strange because I was reading a piece by Christy O'Connor in the Match programme about how high scoring this championship has been. Like, it's breaking all records. And then you had this game where the shooting was terrible. Like, Limerick at 20 wides, Galway at 16.
There were more wides than scores at one point in the first half, definitely.
Yeah.
It was a bit frustrating in the first half in some respects.
It was, yeah. And like, even players who played really well. Like, Hayes had quite a few wides. Like, even later on, a couple you thought, geez, that might cost them. But that was the nature of the game. And I think it just shows how big the stakes were. Like, you know, what was weighing on so heavily on Limerick after 45 years. The pressure on Galway trying to back up last year, and I think, to be honest, the hard road told in Galway. Like
there was a flatness about them.
Yeah, like it was their 9th game, and I think that they could really have done without the 2 replays against Kilkenny and Clare.
I suspect a lot of those Galway players are patched up as well.
Yeah,
like,
and when you think,
patched up.
Yeah, Dahi Burke was struggling with an ankle a few weeks ago, and he was taken for a trot. You know, and you know, he struggled a bit.
Even Joe, you know, you saw with Vincent Hogan a few times. Joe's managing a chronic kind of knee situation that he says himself he'd have fairly invasive surgery, but surgery nonetheless to sort out if he was younger. But he almost feels, look, I'm coming to the end, so I'll just manage it. But he talked last year about not really being able to train for huge sections.
Well, every single game he's down getting treatment. Yeah. You know, for various knocks. Like, so he you know, I think there's something to that.
You see Joe next to like Declan Hannon in the 25th, 26th minute when Hannon kind of races out and gets that ball ahead of him and drives it over the bar. And you just look, I just wonder were there one or two many Galway players who were operating at somewhere between 65 and 85%.
Yeah.
so many of the Limerick lads, young, fit, flying, buzzed up in adrenaline, they were pretty close to 100.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's bang on. I think it was a game too far. Well, even Galway might have gone 2 games too far. Like, they just seemed to run out of gas as the season went on for them. And it'd be very interesting to see how they deal with this, because you don't want demons coming back. Like, people thought, there were various demons spooking Galway for a long time in big days, and you don't want one bad day having that all crowding in on them again. But they are, like, I thought Joe Canning really stood up for them in the last 20 minutes. But Joe is 30 in October. Was not old, but Joe has been playing at a high level since he was 17, 18. He's a lot of hurling under his belt.
That cartilage has been well worn and well used at this stage. Lads, I'm a Limerick city born, dyed in the wool rugby man. Played it since I was 7. I've never held a hurl or kicked a round ball, but yesterday, the greatest day in Limerick sport since 1973, says John in Limerick. Interestingly, last week in the build-up to it, we were looking at just the breakdown of sport in Limerick City.
Yeah.
And when they started this academy type situation, there was a document, the treaty, there's a name for it anyway. The net result anyway is that in 2007, 2008 territory, something like 8% of Limerick City school kids play GAA, and they've managed in the space of 5 years to get that up to 56%.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's a case study in how to run an academy, and they were talking about how, some people don't feel good about elite squads at underage, but what they do in Limerick is they do 1 day a week, one Saturday, the rest of the time you're with your club entirely. And it's not like the academy is about building a winning under-16s team. They were talking about how they'll do it in blocks of, say, 6 weeks. And for a 6-week block, it might be, shooting, and then catching the ball, and then blocking, and then hooking, and just developing all the skills piece by piece. Not so they'll win the under-16s championship, but so that when they get to senior level, they'll be Kyle Hayes.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's work to treat.
I was listening to one of the interviews that came in from the hotel this morning. I think it was Seamus Hickey was saying that, like, it's not necessarily a copy and paste thing for other counties if they want to emulate this success of Limerick. He was basically pointing towards the success of the clubs and their fantastic club structure that they have down there, led by the Beershing, of course, amongst others. Yeah. But says that that's the bedrock of what yesterday was built on. Yeah, we should start the Newsround. Get your text in. I do wonder about Galway as well. It's amazing that a month, 2 months ago, we were pretty much saying they're at the peak of their powers. They're all, a lot of them in the peak of their careers age-wise, and this is going to be the period where they know they have to win, and they're going to win 2 or 3 quick here in the space of the next 4 or 5 years. And now you're wondering, geez, can they come back?
Don't know. Like, you've had, I think it's 5 different champions in the last 6 years, and there's been 7 different finalists. And I think if you look at between 1990 and 2003 in football, you had 9 different champions, which is amazing, and 11 different counties made the final. Like Kildare and Mayo made finals as well, and you are getting into that kind of era in hurling again. And like, what Kilkenny had a wonderful team that we all, they were astonishing to watch and the level they reached. But there's something really invigorating when it's spread around, when it's not just admiring one great team.
It's funny, I was having that sort of nuanced chat with John Duggan briefly outside, and I was asking him, what do you think? For a few years we had Kilkenny Tip, and it was maybe like a level of hurling that we haven't seen before and may not see it since. Kilkenny were just that good and Tip were so close with them. So is that better than what we have now, which is maybe the very best aren't as good as Kilkenny were? But in general, people have all come up a little bit, and the Kilkenny Tip standard has come back down. So
the structure is going to help that, the spread out nature of it.
I prefer when it's a level
even though you're not seeing the heights that Kilkenny hit.
Yeah, like day one of the championship, I went to Dublin, Kilkenny, and Purnell Park, and I really enjoyed it. It was a cracking game, Dublin should have won, and Kilkenny, did a typical Kilkenny. And won it at the end. But like, neither team are world beaters at the moment. They're still fantastic. So to me, that's better
than watching a great Kilkenny team.
Yeah, like, it's still great to see those. It was great to see those Kilkenny Tip games. You'll always remember them. Yeah. But I prefer a really competitive championship, because we don't get that in football, for example.
You leave football alone.
No.
Will you? Okay. You just have to go and do that for.
Don't mention the war.
Don't worry. Plenty of time. There's a long winter for soul searching for football, following this summer of soul searching for football. We should start the news round, which is brought to you this evening with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade, a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. And no guesses where you're starting, Richie.
Yeah, we start at the Gaelic grounds. A crowd in excess of 40,000 people has gathered for a homecoming that's been 45 years in the making. The newly crowned All-Ireland champions showing off the Liam McCarthy Cup following yesterday's 316 to 218 victory over Galway at Croke Park. The Limerick squad visited the Children's Hospital in Crumlin this morning following celebrations that stretched deep into the night at City West last night. It was there that Maura Trosney-Kelly spoke with Joe Quaid, who kept goals in two of Limerick's losing efforts in 94 and 96. He's the elder cousin of current treaty netminder Nicky, and says victory, the first in 73, is particularly sweet.
I was just slumped in my seat. I just couldn't see how they would they'd stop the onslaught. It was just coming in waves, and I just turned around and I went, please, just let them stop. And they did. And that's why I suppose this bunch of players, they have some character inside them. They just, other teams wouldn't have stopped that tide. It would have been impossible. But these lads, they didn't panic. They stuck to the task. Okay, it came down to what I thought was a definite gettable free for Joe. But as Joe said, he was tired. Thankfully, probably for more work rate throughout the match, and just to see that drop shot, the feeling at the end was absolutely amazing.
It's funny how, like, you know, we're there getting the analysis. They didn't panic. They saw them off in the end.
Yeah.
What would we all be saying? Like, what would we be saying about Limerick today? I mean, the word choker would be used.
Cataclysmic collapse.
Of course, yeah.
The biggest collapse since when, I don't know,
Well, like,
94,
I know it's
Devon
such a
Lough,
cliche, but it's a game of inches. Like, you go back through the whole year, Cork, Clare and Kilkenny will be looking at Limerick and thinking, we could have won this All-Ireland. Even Tipperary went out very early, but the margins of their games that they lost were so tight. So all those counties are looking at it and go, you know, we were very close. Like, how did they do this and what we could have done? You know, it's just, sometimes you get the breaks, you know, it makes all the difference. Or even one break in a season can turn your whole season.
There was a lovely moment on OTBAM this morning.
Yeah, Cian Lynch joined Ger and Joe, Ger and Owen, sorry, your Joe, on OTBAM this morning.
Hardest working man in showbiz, back now.
Yeah. And it was one particular photo that adorned several of today's front and back pages that came to mind and came to the conversation today.
His mother actually hopped over the fence and got onto the pitch in Croke Park yesterday. I said there's still no warrant out for her, but you know, it means so much to everyone, like, which is unbelievable. So
I don't know if you've seen the photograph yet, but there's an amazing photograph of you and your mum just hugging on the pitch.
Is there? I didn't see it now at all. She probably has it already herself.
Oh, it's class. It's in the papers. It's
is it?
Yeah. We found it on info anyway, so we'll send it to you. But it's just,
it'll be great.
It's just brilliant. Do you remember? Did you talk to her? Do you remember anything you actually said to her?
No, even lads were saying what to feel like after the game. Like, but I kind of put the head down. I actually struggled to breathe for a few minutes, like, because you're kind of saying, "Jeez, we're after winning All Ireland, like it's a dream come true." But I remember the mother. She jumped up out of nowhere and I grabbed her and just put the head on her shoulder, and it was actually a moment where I could actually just breathe for a second and kind of take in my own surroundings and realise, you know what, this is what it's about. You know, she was the woman that was there for me from the very beginning with the whole family, like, and just to see her there on the pitch, whether the shorts after or the shorts not, like, just see her smiling and going around to everyone. You know, it puts it all into perspective, really.
I don't know if your phone is charged, but Tommy has just WhatsApped you the picture there if you want to have a look at it. I don't know if you're getting photographs or if you managed to plug it in last night, you were doing pretty well.
Oh, Tommy Rooney, hold on here now a second.
There you go, that's it.
If that's the only message on his phone this morning now, he hasn't.
I have another oh jeez, I see it. Some head me, don't I? Jesus, yeah, that's lovely now, in fairness, she'd be delighted with that.
It's just so good on every level.
It's to me that's just pure Limerick. Like, because I actually saw her running onto the pitch because as you saw she had a very colourful top on. So I just thought, who's this lunatic? I didn't realise till I saw the photos today that it was Cian Lynch's mother. But he was like, I saw him in the hotel this morning, and he had a backward baseball cap, like he's just posing for selfies and everything. And I read there was a thing in the match programme yesterday. When they were last in the final, I think he was 11 years old. He had Limerick shaved into the back of his hair. And like he's just an ordinary lad, you know, from hurling royalty, you know, related to the Careys and Patrick as well. And it's just, He's a fantastic player.
He's just a bit cool. He's Cian Lynch, you know. He's just effortless, cool, self-deprecating, and natural, and just funny, and no airs or graces.
Makes you sick, doesn't it?
Yeah. But that's what struck me with them all. There's nobody was feeding you lines today, or nobody was thinking this is so. We have to be a bit careful. We're saying everybody they spoke like normal human beings, which we haven't gotten a long time.
It has no bearing on the match, and I think
of course it doesn't. No.
Joe Canning last year did a big interview with Vincent Hogan before the Tipperary game and had the moment of all moments to win that game. Spoke to Vincent Hogan this week. Didn't win the game. It made no difference. I mean,
really interesting interview.
Yeah, it was very good. Very Joe's a really interesting fella. I think he's very comfortable in his own
Hope
skin.
they do a book.
Oh, I'd say they're writing chapters as we speak.
No pressure, Vincent.
Yeah, no pressure at all. The other thing, I mean, Lynch is just an athlete, isn't he? I mean, above the hurling and everything, he's just a thoroughbred.
But I think generally they are like his name escapes me, but John Kiley mentioned the guy who does their conditioning today, described him as world class, and I thought they won I think they won all the physical battles, and Galway have huge men.
We spoke all year about Galway being this team of units. There's no way you can outmatch them physically.
Like I think did somebody say before their average height is 6'1" or something? Like I think they probably are one of the biggest GA teams ever. But Limerick knocked them about the place. I thought.
Yeah. No, it's true. So Tommy Welsh will join us. Dahi Regan will join us after 8 o'clock. We've already put that out on Facebook Live. It was a really good conversation with Tommy and Dahi, and 7:30. Well, a bit after now. We've gone a bit late here, but we caught up with Seamus Hickey earlier on, who we're all kind of thrilled for here because Seamus has been on the show, I'd say, from about 2008, 2009. He's very young. Like, he's made captain of Limerick when he was 22 or 23. He's been on the road a long time. A weird season for him this year, coming off the bench, or not, as it was yesterday. But like, for him to win in All-Ireland, we were all kind of thrilled for him. So he's going to be on the show. We'll play it out for you in the next kind of 5-10 minutes. I presume you saw him in floods of tears on the TV when you were there, did you? He was just bawling a lot. He was saying he caught his parents' eye. That's what did him.
I wish he got on. I know it would have been.
And
I think, I think if circumstances were different, I think John Kiley would have liked to put him on. But
because he came on in the semi-final and actually did very well. I know, because I was wondering, we asked him, was there an element of the Paul Scholes, Roy Keane Champions League final afterwards? He was saying, no, honestly, no. So he was as happy as anyone in the celebrations. But I mean, he deserves an All-Ireland medal if anyone does.
Even Paul Brown, the same. Listen to him today. Like, he's absolutely chuffed, and with cruciate ligament end in his season. But he was as made up as anybody. There was no sense of, I've missed out on this. He's very much part of it and very much enjoying it.
Brian says, turns out John Kiley's media ban around the players in the latter stages of the championship was an astute call. The Limerick players didn't look the least bit overawed or overcooked, says Brian Shannonside. We'll agree to differ on that.
Yeah, but there
we'll
wasn't
agree
really.
to disagree.
But the thing is, there wasn't really a media ban. They did the press day the same as every other team does before in All Ireland.
They put up 3 substitutes.
Huh?
They didn't put up players.
Yeah.
Like it was Cohen in all the Sunday papers yesterday for Galway. There was no Limerick equivalent.
But that wouldn't be unusual. You have other managers put up fringe players before. They wouldn't be alone in that.
I'm just saying, it wasn't Cian Lynch and Shane Dowling at centre stage.
That's
they were kept
point.
away. Galway will come again, lads, says Paul, who's living in Mayo but from Galway. We were under par. We'll need to have a look at ourselves, but we'll be better for it.
There's no reason for them to panic.
Don't bet against Galway next year. Yeah, I mean, I guess a long winter to patch up, go again. It's going to be very interesting to see how they come back. We have our referee for the football final.
It's Conor Lane. He's going to be looking after Dublin and Tyrone on September 2nd. The North Cork official was in charge of the drawn final game between Dublin and Mayo in 2016 when he showed a first half black card to James McCarthy. He also took the whistle for Dublin's quarter-final win over Galway this year and Tyrone's qualifier victory over Carlow. Meanwhile, Tyrone manager Mickey Hart says he expects Conor Myler to play some part in that final. The defender absent from the semi-final win over Monaghan, having suffered a knee injury 1 week earlier against Donegal. Hart says Myler has made good progress since and should be available for at least some game time on September the 2nd.
No Facebook message as of yet from any football referees voicing their disgust and imminent retirement from the game, but we will keep you up to date on that. And I saw as well, Mickey Hart as well, the RTE situation is very much rumbling on. That confuses me. Like, there was the skit, the poor song choice on the John Murray show. But then there's also the leaked letter about Brian Cardy, which was around that time as well. And it's hard to know what it is for Mickey Hart that is the ultimate cause.
Yeah, because he hasn't really, I don't know if he's actually come out and
explained it in great detail.
Explained it in detail, but my understanding that it was that skit, and particularly the Some Pretty Little Girl from Oma, that really, really annoyed him. But I think he's had a bit of an issue with the BBC at times this year, and then there was a bit of a, I don't know if, a difference of differing explanations for the moving sideline in Oma, that Sky were responsible or Tyrone responsible. So maybe there's a couple of TV stations in this firing line.
Sky haven't had to narrow any other pitch in the country, it seems, but they did in Oma. That's the line, and we're sticking to it. So there's live football this evening?
Yeah, there is. Crystal Palace and Liverpool both aiming to build on opening day victories in the Premier League. They meet at Selhurst Park, where kickoff is at 8. Both sides unchanged from their opening day wins. So Max Myers on the Palace bench. They start with Wayne Hennessy in goal, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Mamadou Sakho, the former Liverpool player, James Tompkins and Patrick Van Aanholt in their back four. Across the middle, it's Andros Townsend, Luka Milivojevic, James McArthur and Jeffrey Schlupp, with Wilfried Zaha and Christian Benteke leading the line. For Liverpool, Alisson's in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk and Andrew Robertson are their back four. The midfield trio of James Milner, Naby Keita and Jorginho Wijnaldum, with Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino and Mo Salah up front. Meanwhile, Liverpool goalkeeper Loris Karius has been offered a route out of Anfield, it seems. Besiktas have reportedly struck a deal that would see the German keeper join the Turkish side on a 2-season loan with the option to buy. Karius still needs to be convinced, apparently, of the move, despite falling down the pecking order following the arrival at Liverpool of Alisson.
Doesn't it just show where the Premier League is now, that Liverpool really need to win that game?
Yeah.
And it's their second game, because from what we've seen of City, I think it's going to take, I think there's a fair chance you could take over 100 points to win the league this season, because, City had that mark last season, and there's no sign of slippage of anything. They've got better.
Yeah, I really watched yesterday. They were just a joy. David Silva, I think the weight of his son being okay. There was just a lightness of touch and feel about him yesterday. His partner and his son were at the ground, and he was Mendy, just glorious.
Yeah, absolutely. And they lost Mendy so early last season. He's a quality player that they were able to put in now. I know they've lost De Bruyne, but I think they've got. It's just like the talk of Liverpool. Oh, Liverpool be contenders, and the Chelsea now are in the frame, but I think City will. It was so hard to stop.
It feels like we're seeing something very special.
Yeah.
They're really finding a groove. Have you seen the Amazon Prime?
No, I must give it a go, because I've actually started subscribing to Amazon Prime. So I must have a go.
Why have you started subscribing? What's Amazon Prime?
My son wants some kind of games crap on it. So
right. Okay.
Yeah.
The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is good if you're looking for something to actually watch on there.
The what is?
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Written by the same people behind the Gilmore Girls.
Okay.
How does it work? Can I sign up for like a month and watch this City thing and get off?
Well, I think I think there might be a free week or something, and then the first couple of months are very cheap.
There was a Malcolm Allison, John Bond documentary around 1980 that was actually done on City around at the time.
I think I saw that years ago.
It's on YouTube in full. I watched it a few months ago. It's because Allison is just one of the most magnetic, remarkable characters English football's probably ever seen, and it was an access to a football club that you just didn't get at that stage. Now, the players aren't quote unquote as interesting, let's say, as they would be today, but it's a phenomenal piece of work, that, and probably better than the one that's out now.
Okay. Any last story or two you want?
Yeah, Dundalk, they can open with a 3-point lead at the top of the SSE Electricity Premier Division this evening, even with the game in hand. Stephen Kenny's side making the trip to the showgrounds to face Sligo Rovers. A 7:45 start to that one. Of course, even Cork stumbling to a 1-1 draw last night with St Pat's at Turner's Cross. And Shane Duffy's first ever Premier League goal spurred Brighton on to a first victory of the season, and against Manchester United in the process as well. Chris Hughton's side 3-2 winners at the Amex yesterday in a game we brought you live and off the ball. And after the game, the Republic of Ireland centre half spoke with our Dave.
We got a thought to Gary Breen, who was on commentary with us today, and he felt in the last half an hour that you just couldn't see this traditional Manchester United siege. You couldn't see where it was going to come from. Did you get that sense and the feel that we have these guys contained here today?
I think our shape and structure was set up. They frustrate them. We knew they were going to have a lot of the ball, and that was sort of our plan. Obviously, we wanted to counter a little bit more and keep the ball a bit better, but obviously they're a good team, and we frustrated them to side, and obviously they weren't probably going to score unless the penalty, so I thought we were very good defensively second half.
We'll talk more about that on the football show. Gary Breen was there. He spoke with Dave afterwards. We'll play some of that. Pat Nevin will join us, Kevin Kilban. Short version, if you don't have time to stick around, is that Manchester United were just terrible.
And Mourinho's gone.
Well,
it's all over, isn't it?
That way. It feels like it's creaking badly. Bai and Lindelof was a car crash. Horrendous stuff. Both Jose Mourinho signings as well.
Yeah.
If you're Eric Woodward and he's saying, I need to buy a centre half, you're kind of thinking, well, we just sort of bought 2 and we've got 2 England internationals.
I just think
you not make 2 of them good.
Yeah, everyone's grown weary of him. He's just become a tedious bore, and I think even the players must think that now. So.
Yeah, he'd be no fun to play for, I suspect. Now, let me just mention before we take a short break and get into Seamus Hickey, we have what should be a brilliant event next Thursday. So 30th of August, Thursday week. We're going to be live in Croke Park. The lineup includes, in no particular order, Kieran McGeeney, James Horan, Aidan O'Shea, Cora Staunton, and the latest added, Jim McGuinness is going to be there as well.
Well, now.
No.
So,
Oh boy.
James Horan, Kieran McGeaney, Jim McGuinness, Aidan O'Shea, Cora Staunton, all on the way next Thursday at Croke Park. This is an off-air event. So we're not broadcasting this on the Thursday. May play some of it out in a later event, but if you want to get there and experience the full brilliance of quite a brilliant lineup, then go to offtheball.com/events. Next Thursday at Croke Park. I'll be there myself. Looking forward to it. So offtheball.com/events is where you can get involved there. We're pretty much done for the Newsround this evening. Kieran, thanks a million for coming in.
No problem.
Cheers. Richie, thank you. And up next, Seamus Hickey, All-Ireland winner. All-Ireland winner, Seamus Hickey.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
The Pat Kenny Show.
On tomorrow's programme, we ask, does the left in Irish politics need to rethink where it goes from here? I'll be joined by John Boyne, one of Ireland's most successful writers and the author of The Boy in the Striped